When my dad left, my mom started drinking, and she told me that my dad's leaving was all my fault. And I missed him a lot, so I'd cry. She got so fed up with the crying that she would lock me in the trunk of her car, sometimes for hours.
Imagine if someone breaks into your home, turning a place where it used to be a safe haven and comfort into a site of fear and vulnerability. This is what home invasion horror is all about. One good example of one of my favorite home invasion horror films is The Strangers 2007. It's about a group of killers who were stalking a couple. Once the couple noticed that they were being watched, they had to fight for their survival. Just like there are rules for slasher horror, there are rules that this type of horror subgenre must follow too. I have already mentioned the first rule, where a home seems as a sanctuary at first, but then turns into a more hostile place for the people living in the house. Number 2 is having realistic threats. Unlike supernatural horror, home invasion films usually involve human antagonists. These include stalkers, killers, and burglars. The attackers are often portrayed as dangerous people who are capable of extreme violence. And the last rule I should mention, there should be tension and suspense in the film. When a character is hiding from the killer, it builds a lot of suspense, and the audience are wondering if the main characters are going to survive or not against the outside forces. The film I will be discussing today, called Don't Breathe, flips what we know a home invasion horror film is about. It reverts traditional roles and expectations of what we believe might happen. It introduces a unique antagonist, and it creates tension through innovative use of sound and suspense. Today we'll be discussing how the movie Don't Breathe changed the roles of a traditional home invasion horror film, but it still makes the film very effective in this type of subgenre of horror. Let's get things started. The film is about 3 burglars who have been stuck in the city of Detroit and they don't have anything else going for them. They go to houses and steal whatever they can find and sell it for profit. The character named Money, played by Daniel Salvato, is the leader of the group. He is well connected to the streets of Detroit and lets the other 2 characters know when it's time to rob a home. Money is a very arrogant and reckless type of person. Unlike the other 2 main characters, Money is primarily motivated by greed. He is what you expect a burglar to be in a normal home invasion movie. The thing is, this isn't a normal home invasion film. Just like how his name is Money, he sees robbing homes as a quick way to make a significant amount of cash. Money is his motivation. He's a person that is willing to take risk and shows little regard for the consequences. Next up we have Alex, played by Dylan Minnette. He is the most cautious and intelligent of the group. His father worked at a security company where he uses his knowledge of alarm systems to help the group break into houses. He is also the least eager to commit a crime, but does so out of caring for Rocky, who I will get into in a moment. He had a crush on her. This was evident due to the way he behaves and the decision he makes to participate in the final heist. At first, he wasn't going through with the heist, but Rocky changed his mind. And lastly, we have Rocky, played by Jane Levy. She is the main protagonist of the film we follow. She's tough and determined, but also emotionally vulnerable, driven by the desire to escape her difficult life. Before the heist took place, Alex asked Rocky about the ladybug tattoo and why she chose to get it. She told the story of when her dad left and how her mother blamed her for her dad leaving. There were times when she was young, when she missed her father and began to cry. One time, her mother had enough of her crying, and so she locked her inside the trunk of her car, sometimes for hours. There was a little hole in the trunk, and one time, a ladybug flew in and kept her company. The ladybug made her feel safe. This moment left a lasting impression on Rocky. The ladybug tattoo reminded her of her desire to escape her abusive environment and find freedom. Not only did she want to provide a better life for herself, but also her younger sister as well. The three of them had one common interest, and that was to have a better life. Little did they know that trying to rob $300,000 from a blind man wasn't going to be easy. Enter the Blind Man, played by Stephen Lang. He's a war veteran that lost his only daughter from a car crash. Losing his daughter left him emotionally broken, and he wasn't the same ever again. The driver was a preppy schoolgirl with rich parents. Since the blind man lost his daughter, the rich family gave him a financial settlement. That settlement is the main reason why the three burglars broke into his home, to steal it from him and to never come back to Detroit. What made the blind man blind in the first place was that a grenade flashed between his eyes, and that is why he wasn't able to serve in the military anymore. Despite his blindness though, he turns the tables on the burglars by using his highly skilled military background and his 4 other working senses to take them down. Knowing his house from top to bottom was the blind man's biggest advantage. Now this is when the movie challenges the audience. They might be asking themselves, who should I be rooting for? The 3 burglars who broke into the blind man's home, who wanted to steal his settlement because they wanted a better life? Or the blind man who lost his only daughter in a tragic accident and who was trying to defend off against the burglars who broke into his home? Money getting shot by the blind man causes relief for him, thinking that he is now safe. Meanwhile, Rocky was covered in fear when she saw Money's dead body on the living room floor. After this moment happened, this is when the film starts to become more silent. As the burglars are being chased throughout the house by the blind man, tension starts to really build up. With any little noise the characters hear, their anxiety and vulnerability tends to amplify even more. The director, Fede Alvarez, went with this choice to build suspense and tension for the characters and for the viewers to keep them at the edge of their seats. 2 great examples was when the remaining burglars were making their way to the basement door and suddenly the blind man opens the door. Keep in mind, the blind man has the gun he took from Money with him at all times. When Alex stepped back, there was a loud crack heard around the house due to the wooded floor. The blind man immediately stopped dragging Money's body, and now he was pointing the gun in the burglar's direction. There was complete silence for a good 30 seconds. Both Rocky and Alex were holding their breath so they won't get caught, but then Money's phone started to vibrate out of nowhere, and that's when the blind man shot the floor. The other example was when Rocky and Alex were walking in complete darkness in the basement, not knowing where they were going. Both of them were now trying to escape the basement, and the blind man turned off all the lights. There are many examples in the film, but these are the ones I wanted to point out. Don't Breathe 2016 flipped the script on the home invasion horror subgenre by reversing the roles of who is the victim and who is the intruder. The terror in most home invasion films comes from the outsiders breaking into a home and threatening the people living inside the house. In this film, the dynamic changes by making the blind man as the true source of fear. The plot twist in the film was that he was keeping a girl who ran over his daughter captive in his basement. The reason being was because he intended to impregnate her using a very disturbing method, believing that will replace the daughter he lost. While she was trying to escape the basement with Rocky and Alex, he shot the girl by accident. Now that she was dead, he captured Rocky. He planned to use her as his new mother for the child. This wasn't just a burglary gone wrong anymore. The narrative changed to a much more darker and twisted scenario, showing that the blind man went from a veteran protecting his house to a deeply disturbed man. The burglars who should have the upper hand quickly become the hunted instead of the hunter in this film. Don't Breathe also defies expectations by using silence and sound to elevate suspense in unique ways. The blind man's reliance on his four other working senses that isn't his vision forces the burglars to move silently throughout his house. Once they found the money they were looking for, it was now time to escape the house. By making the blind man a grieving father and a sadistic villain, blurs the lines between a victim and an antagonist. The movie Don't Breathe turns the home invasion blueprint into a more unpredictable thriller that challenges the viewer's expectations at every turn.